So picture this, a massive global brand, a really notorious hacking group in almost 1 million records just gone. This isn't some movie script, you guys. This is exactly what happened to Adidas. But the really wild part isn't just what happened, it's how they did it, and how the exact same thing could happen to just about anyone. All right, let's get into it.
Now, for this whole breakdown, we are digging deep into a fantastic analysis from shieldworks.com. They did a real deep dive on the technical side of things, which is going to let us see what was really going on behind the curtain.
Okay, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the breach itself. Then, we'll unmask the attackers. After that, we'll piece together how the hack actually happened, pull out the big lessons we all need to learn, and finally, we'll talk about how you can build up your own digital defenses.
Right, so let's start at the beginning. What in the world went down at Adidas?
So out of nowhere, this hacking group basically kicks down the digital door and announces they've breached Adidas. And look, we're not talking about some small company here. This is one of the most famous brands on the entire planet, and suddenly their data is in the hands of cyber criminals.
And the sheer scale of this thing, it was just massive. The hackers got away with 815,000 individual records, and the total data haul, 420 gigabytes. To put that in perspective, that is a full-on data heist, not just a little crack in their security. And what exactly was in those 420 gigs? Oh, just a criminal shopping list. We're talking about sensitive personal information, or PII. Everything from names and emails to passwords, birth dates, even internal company info and technical data. This is the stuff that fuels identity theft and massive fraud.
Okay, so who would do something like this? Well, this brings us to a group that has been making some serious waves for a while now. Let me introduce you to Lapsus-Dollars. Now, this is not your typical hacking group that stays in the shadows. No, these guys are infamous for two big things. One, hitting absolutely massive targets, and two, using really clever manipulation instead of just brute force coding. Their whole game is about exploiting people and finding weak links in a company's partners. And their playbook is all about messing with your head. They are masters of social engineering, which is basically just tricking people into giving up their access. They use tactics like SIM swapping to hijack phone numbers, they use classic phishing emails, and this is the really scary part, they're experts at getting around multi-factor authentication. They often use something called MFA fatigue attacks, where they just spam you with login approval requests until you get annoyed and just approve one to make it stop.
Okay, so we've got the victim, Adidas, and we've got the culprits, Lapsus-Still. So let's connect the dots. How did they actually manage to pull this off?
Right. This is the most important part to understand. The hackers didn't just storm the front gates of Adidas. Nope. They found a side door that had been left unlocked. The attack didn't come through Adidas's own systems. It came through a trusted partner who had perfectly legitimate access to their network.
The whole attack was, well, shockingly simple, but so effective. It happened in 4 steps. First, Lapsus-Dollar found a partner company that could get into the Adidas network. Step 2, they used their social engineering tricks to fool an employee at that company and just steal their login info. And once they had the keys, they just waltzed right into the Adidas partner portal. And from there, it was pretty much game over. They just started downloading everything. So right about now, you should be asking the perfect question. Hang on a second, what about MFA? Shouldn't that have stopped them cold? And that right there, that is the million-dollar question that this whole mess forces us to look at. This whole thing isn't just some story about a big corporation. It's a massive wake-up call for every single company, and really, every one of us. So let's break down the big lessons here. So lesson number 1 is staring us right in the face. Your own security is only as strong as your weakest link, and that link is probably one of your partners. Think about it. We have all these vendors and suppliers who have access to our systems. If they get hit, you get hit. It's that simple. And lesson number 2, those partner portals, the extranets, they're basically giant flashing targets for hackers. I mean, they're designed to be accessed from the outside, which makes them a super tempting backdoor for anyone trying to get in. They are literally the bridge between your company and the outside world. And that brings us to the biggest lesson of all, the one that points to a huge flaw in how we think about security. We're all told, just use MFA and you'll be safe. But this Adidas breach proves that just having MFA, well, it's not good enough. The kind of MFA you're using is everything. I mean, think about the MFA most of us use, the vulnerable kind. Stuff like push notifications, codes sent by text, or those little rotating TOTP codes in an authenticator app. All of that can be beaten. A clever phish or one of those MFA fatigue attacks can get right past it. But then you have truly phishing-resistant MFA. This uses standards like FIDO2, WebAuthn, or passkeys. These technologies physically tie your login to your specific device. With this stuff, a hacker literally can't trick you into approving a login on their computer. It's just not possible.
So, after hearing all of that, you're probably wondering, how do we actually defend ourselves against groups like Lapsus? Let's get into some real actionable steps.
All right, this table here is basically the modern defense playbook. To stop credentials from getting stolen in the first place, you use phishing-resistant MFA, like FIDO2 or WebAuthn. To limit how much damage a hacked partner can do, you use something called just-in-time access, or JIT, which only gives them permissions for the short time they absolutely need it. To actually spot an intruder, you need a SIM. That's a Security Information and Event Management System. And you combine that with User and Entity Behavior Analytics, or UEBA, to flag weird activity. And finally, you have to make your partners prove they're secure by demanding regular security audits, like a SOC 2 report.
Look, at the end of the day, the Adidas breach really makes you stop and ask a tough question. Our data is everywhere. We trust so many companies with our most private information, but do we have any idea who actually holds the keys to their systems, and by extension, the keys to our own digital lives? It's a serious question, right? Who holds the keys? If this breakdown helped you see the risks we're all facing a little more clearly, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and give this a like. It genuinely helps us create more explainers just like this one. Thanks so much for watching.